Hi, everybody. January 5th is also a very special day every year on the New Japan Pro Wrestling calendar because now it's traditionally become night 2 for Wrestle Kingdom, and such will be the case again here this year as we start off the 50th anniversary, the golden anniversary for New Japan Pro Wrestling. I'm Kevin Kelly along with Chris Charlton, and we're going to run through the card, give you our thoughts, and get you all set and psyched for the big event, which begins. The official card gets underway 5 p.m. local time, which, that's 3 a.m. on the East Coast, midnight Pacific, depending on where you live. It'll start when it starts. Google it, and we'll all have fun together because you'll be able to see all the action right here on njpwworld.com. January 5th, Chris, history's going to be made. Not only we're going to have the Stardom tag team here on the main card for the first time, but we're also going to finally settle things in the main event with the question that's been lingering all throughout since the summer: who is the real world heavyweight champion? But let's start at the beginning, and let's start with 3 teams who will battle over the Junior Heavyweight Tag Team Championship. The champions are Robbie Eagles and Tiger Mask, who were a surprising top finishing team in the Super Junior Tag League, and then they upset winners over Desperado and Kanemaru. So now you've got the champs, the mega coaches, Ryusuke Taguchi and Rocky Romero reunite, and the former champions, El Phantasmo, Taiji Ishimori. Who you got in this one?
It used to be a tradition in Wrestle Kingdoms where you'd have these spectacular junior heavyweight 3-ways and 4-ways to start off the main card, and now here we've got it again in 2022. I think a chaotic event such as this, I would ordinarily go with the guys that can go fastest, hardest, and quickest. And my instinct initially would say El Phantasmo and Taiji Ishimori for that. But Rocky and Taguchi are the only guys that are very familiar with this environment, and Apollo Gogo were in those 3-ways and 4-ways, and so were the Forever Hooligans back in the day, or Roppongi Vice. And Apollo Gogo and Roppongi Vice have both won IWGP Junior Heavyweight Tag Gold in the Tokyo Dome at Wrestle Kingdom, which Bullet Club's Cutest have not, and neither have Flying Tiger. So I think I'm going to go with the wily veteran edge for this one. I'm back in the mega coaches.
And again, that's not a bad pick. And obviously, the champions, to me, are the underdog in any scenario like this, because in a 3-way match, champions don't have to get beat to lose the title. Bullet Club's Cutest tag team could also be Bullet Club's most loaded tag team, because I got a feeling that El Phantasmo is going to have lead weights in both shoes. Ishimori might have some on him as well, and there's going to be sudden death being dished out left, right, and center. That's just kind of my gut feeling on this. Until somebody can figure out how to survive the move called sudden death, there's no avoiding it, especially in a big match scenario like this. So I'm leaning towards Bullet Club, but I like your mega coaches pick as well. And again, they would be the 69th champion? Interesting. So we mentioned history being made on January the 5th, and Chris and I are very excited to be calling once again a Stardom special match. But this is history because for the first time, Chris, it's going to appear on a main card, not in a special opening match, a special dark match, a non-televised match, but this is going to be part of Wrestle Kingdom. It's going to be written in the record books. It's Starlight Kid and Mayu Iwatani against Saya Kamatani and Tam Nakano. So give me the scenario, because these are mismatched parts. One of these things is not like the other. We've got different squads represented here. How could these 4 get along? Tell me how we got here.
Right, so I mean, yes, this is a historical moment for Stardom, and perhaps, I would say with the broadcast television audience over these 2 nights in Japan and then of course worldwide on NJPW World, this could be the most watched Stardom match in history. So ordinarily in a normal tag scenario, you've got people that want to represent their promotion, but also want to put themselves up on the biggest stage. And I think that internal communication is going to be even greater in this situation. There was a Stardom event in Tokyo back in November, or was it early December, I believe, where they explained, okay, we've got this tag situation. We've got 4 free spots. There are 5 factions within Stardom, unit system, just like in New Japan. So 1 representative from each team draws a straw. And if you get the straw with no color on it, then you're out. That's what happened to Shuri. So that means that Donna Del Mondo are not part of this contest. Everybody else, you pull the blue straw, you get the blue corner. You pull the red straw, you're in the red corner. So Mayu Iwatani, who is, I think it's fair to say Kevin Kelly, the much like Hiroshi Tanahashi is the iconic face of New Japan Pro Wrestling, has been for so many years. Mayu is truly the icon of Stardom. And she picks the blue corner, where she'll be teaming with Starlight Kid. Starlight Kid and Mayu Iwatani used to be in the same stable, used to be in Stars, and then there was an elimination match where Starlight Kid was forced to join Oedo Tai, which is much like the Bullet Club might be the seedier elements of New Japan Pro Wrestling. Oedo Tai is the seedier elements of Stardom, let's face it. And Starlight Kid joined Oedo Tai against her own free will, but ever since then has been incredibly successful. Had a fantastic 5-star Grand Prix won the high speed championship, which she was never able to do when she was part of the same team as Mayu. So certainly she's established herself as her own woman, away from Mayu and away from Stars. So there's going to be a little bit of headbutting in that match. Then you look at the opposite corner, Tam Nakano at the time of this recording, the Wonder of Stardom champion, against teaming with Saya Kamitani. Their opponents on December 29th in Ryogoku at Stardom's Big Queendom show. So there's going to be, obviously, bad blood still remaining between those two. And Tam and Mayu used to be teammates a long time, at one point, a long time ago, and Tam Nakano wanted to split away and form the Cosmic Angels group and do that as separate from Mayu, and on her own wanted to establish herself as her own woman. And that has led to Tam and Mayu butting heads in incredibly violent matches. There was an absolute war in Osaka-jo Hall just a few weeks ago between those two. So whatever way you cut it, whatever angle you look at it as, it's 4 women who absolutely hate each other, but having to be a part of 2 teams of 2, and not just establish Stardom in front of a worldwide audience, but to establish themselves and make sure that they get the spotlight coming away from the Tokyo Dome.
And again, new faces, some new faces that we did not see when we were together at MetLife Dome. So we're excited to present more of the story of Stardom for you on January 5th. And like Chris said, could very well be the largest audience to ever see a Stardom match on January 5th. We hope you can be part of history and join us live for the big event on January the 5th. Now, going back to January 4th, Chris, the whole day began with New Japan Rambo, and the Final 4 will head to the ring with the right to be known as KOPW 2022 Provisional winner, Provisional champion, going to the winner of this 4-way match. There's no way to predict who will be there yet, but obviously, if you're Toru Yano, you hope to get there. If you're Chase Owens, history might be on your side. Now, give me a name that you think could possibly be in the mix. I'll go back to last year and I'll say Bad Luck Fale, because he's such a tough man to be eliminated. He might be difficult to eliminate in the Rambo on January the 4th. Give me a name, anybody.
You know who I'd like it to be?
Who?
Minoru Suzuki.
Oh, Jesus.
And I'll tell you why. I think we've seen the color of KOPW from its inception and that 4-way at Jingo Stadium in summer of 2020. Toru Yano has obviously had a vice-like grip on those trophies, and we've seen his vision of professional wrestling play out, sometimes comedic, and sometimes very unique, like that amateur wrestling rules match he had with Great O'Khan. But I think what the concept, when, believe it or not, Kazuchika Okada introduced this trophy, was to bring about the different viewpoints and different styles of professional wrestling that each one of those trophy holders may have. So I think, well, hell, let's have someone that's completely opposite to Toriano. Let's have Minoru Suzuki be in that one and win the four-way. And, then let's see what kind of stipulations that Minoru Suzuki may have if he's rubbing his hands with that trophy and able to...
There will be no laughing, no smiling, no fun and games. It would be just violence until somebody would beat him for that trophy. So we'll see what happens. Well, again, the provisional champion has to defend that all throughout the year. And whomever is the champion at the end of 2022 will be forever known as the KOPW champion for 2022. But it all starts with January 4th and 5th. First the Rambo, and then the four finalists will collide in a four-way match to determine the KOPW 2022 Provisional Champion. Speaking of champions, the Never Openweight Six-Man Tag Team Championship will be on the line next. Nobody's done it better for longer than Ishii, Goto, Yoshihashi. With Ishii defending the Never Openweight Championship on night one, who better to plug in than Yo to team with Yoshihashi and Hiroki Goto to take on Sho, Yujiro Takahashi, and Evil, the Never Openweight Six-Man Tag Team Champions.
Bad blood all the way around this one. Of course, Sho and Yo are facing each other in the opening match on night one. Then you've got Goto and Yoshihashi, who still have a lot of deep hatred for all of House of Torture and Evil and Yujiro specifically. And you have this added, perhaps, scenario of there being potentially double champions in this match. And Goto and Yoshihashi, they hope that they're heading into this one as IWGP Tag Champions already, and they want to be Never Six-Man Champs on top of that. Evil, if all goes to his evil plans, then he might be issued to become both Never Singles and Six-Man Champion heading into this one. So there's a lot of on the line, there's a lot of ill will, and it might come down to who is the freshest coming into January the 5th, with really everybody all around probably taking their lumps and taking their beatings on January the 4th, except for Yujiro Takahashi. So perhaps he might be the key man, and very often he is the hidden key man in all the teams that he's in. But the Tokyo Pimp might be the key to this one.
Hopefully he'll get his lump somewhere along the way to even up the odds. But I'll tell you what, all throughout the year of 2021, nobody delivered better in main events than these Never Openweight Six-Man Tag Team Championship battles. They were epics, and we can hope that we get a great one on January the 5th. We mentioned a special singles match, pair of them signed for night two. First, it's Sonata versus the Great O'Khan. This, of course, plays into the next match as well, which is Tetsuya Naito versus Jeff Cobb. Tag team scenario, back the night of the finals of Best of Super Junior and World Tag League. And while Naito got the win, Sonata got wiped out by the Great O'Khan and had to be helped out to the back. And signing this singles match between these two, obviously, Sonata wants to get even for the beating that he took from the hands of the Great O'Khan, but the Great O'Khan is looking to get that signature win at Wrestle Kingdom, and certainly the stage never seems too big for the Great O'Khan.
Yeah, it kind of... We have to flash back to 2021 to tell the story for 2022, when this time last year United Empire was the new faction on the scene, and they had these big three singles matchups at Wrestle Kingdom that they were hoping would really establish themselves as the most, not just a credible threat, but the most dominant threat in New Japan Pro Wrestling. So Jeff Cobb faced Shingo Takagi, Great O'Khan wrestled Hiroshi Tanahashi, and Will Ospreay faced Kazuchika Okada. Now, they lost every single one of those matchups, and they had to reset. And they started with facing the third generation and then they moved on to LIJ, and that's when Aaron Henare joined the fold. Aaron Henare ultimately lost to Sonata when they had their singles match back last spring, and now Great Okan is picking up against Sonata. I'm intrigued by this one. I'm really excited by this one. I think this is another of those styles make fights scenario. Great Okan is very much MMA based, martial arts based. Sonata is a classic prototypical professional wrestler. So I think that's going to create an intriguing clash of styles. And certainly I think there's going to be not just who can beat the other person, but who can humiliate the other person, whether it's the Paradise Lock for Sonata or whether it's Great Okan taking a seat on top of Sonata in the corner.
So that will play directly into the next match on the card, another special singles match with Tetsuya Naito versus Jeff Cobb. Naito had talked about main eventing this year's Wrestle Kingdom, and that was not able to be possible after injuring his knee in the G1 and then being eliminated in World Tag League. We wondered what would be a Wrestle Kingdom for Tetsuya Naito. And lo and behold, it was a victory in a tag team match over Jeff Cobb that led to this marquee matchup being signed, which obviously could have future title ramifications, and I think setting the stage for a big 2022 to the winner. Can Naito beat Jeff Cobb twice in a row when Cobb hadn't been beaten twice in 6 months?
Yeah, that's right. The unbelievable streak that Great Okan that Jeff Cobb went on in 2021 cannot be denied. And you're right, Kevin. I kind of think oftentimes when it gets to this point and we look at both nights of the Tokyo Dome, you might think not just who's going to emerge from Wrestle Kingdom as IWGP World Heavyweight Champion, but who might that next challenger be? And it could well be one of Jeff Cobb or Tetsuya Naito. And perhaps that was the long game that Naito was playing when he said, okay, I'll take that challenge for Jeff Cobb for Wrestle Kingdom. Naito pinned Jeff Cobb against the run of play. Cobb was setting up for Teriyaki Island, got countered with a Hurricanrana and was flash pinned. And that seems very similar, very familiar to me with how Kazuchika Okada beat Jeff Cobb at the Tokyo Dome last summer. And Cobb was driven and more dangerous than ever when he was absolutely phenomenal against Okada in the rematch at MetLife Dome. And then we saw the run that he went through the G1. So I think Jeff Cobb will not take that flash pin lightly. He'll know that it's coming. He'll know to avoid Destino as well. And he's going to be very, very dangerous here in the Tokyo Dome. And I'm picking Jeff Cobb to defeat Tetsuya Naito and then perhaps move on to even greater things in January and February.
Obviously, everything depends on the main event. But I would say that a scenario is quite likely where whomever emerges as the IWGP World Heavyweight Champion after the main event could face one of the four men in these previous matches. Now, if Will Ospreay is successful and the Great Okan and Jeff Cobb both win, then Ospreay is going to have to find a challenger somewhere else. But don't be surprised if at the end of the night, whomever is victorious in these matches could find their way out to the stage, could find their way out to the ring to introduce themselves to the IWGP World Heavyweight Champion. Before we get to the main event, let's talk IWGP US Heavyweight Championship. Special no disqualification rules, Chris. Kenta chased the US title for 2 years before finally beating Tanahashi, and now makes his first defense against Tanahashi, a rematch, no disqualification in their first meeting when Kenta became the champion. It might as well have been a no DQ match. There were tables and everything flying all over the place. I think this is the perfect stipulation to settle it between these two once and for all.
Perfect stipulation after Tanahashi put Kenta through that table. But also, I think playing right into Kenta's wheelhouse. And, I think that was the situation where Tanahashi said to Kenta, I know you're a direct rematch, that might not be something that you're into. So name a step and I'll reply to it. Anything's completely fine with you. And Kenta said, he hummed and hawed, and he said, yeah, I want to do it. No, I don't want to do it. And then he decided, well, will do it if it's no DQ. And Tanahashi is not a no DQ guy, traditionally. He's not an anything goes guy, traditionally, especially not in the Tokyo Dome. And this is very much counter to his philosophy of professional wrestling. You remember a couple of years ago in the main event when he defeated Kenny Omega, and there was the talk of, well, pro wrestling doesn't need tables, doesn't need chairs. You know, I do this for the pure love and the pure artistry of what happens within those 4 ropes. So here Kenta is forcing Tanahashi out of his comfort zone. You've also got that added element of both of these guys being such fantastic competitors for so long, but their opposition is not just with one another, but with change and with an element of father time as well. And how do you cope with that? And how do you adapt to that so that you can still compete at the absolute peak level? Now, we've seen how Kenta is a different man to the Kenta that was a GHC champion in the past. And we've seen how Tanahashi has continually managed to stage those resurgences and comebacks. And now does Tanahashi have to take a completely different tack into the next chapter of his career in 2022? So there's a lot of interesting elements beyond just who comes out the winner in this one.
And you look at what the U.S. title has represented and the champions that have held the belt. Rocky had so famously coined the never openweight title as the BMF title a couple of years ago. I think this U.S. title is quickly getting up there with the never belt in terms of physical respect. You look at the way Jon Moxley defended the title against Kenta, quite famously, Lance Archer as well. And now Kenta, his first title defense is no DQ. To become the U.S. champ, you got to earn it. And to keep the U.S. title, you really got to earn it.
Yeah, you're right. And don't forget, of course, that as fans all over the world are watching on NJPW World, it's really been in recent years the IWGP US Heavyweight Championship has been the key to the world and representing New Japan Pro Wrestling on the American stage especially. And we've talked about how Jon Moxley defended that title in AEW through 2021 and how it's been the key to the forbidden door, if you will. And Kenta, of course, is US based. Hiroshi Tanahashi has long said that if he can hop over every month, every week, you know, once the world opens up, then he'll be more than willing to do so. So I think if you're a fan in the US, if you're a fan worldwide, then this is a match to keep an eye on, because I'm pretty sure that whoever walks out the champion will have a very busy flight schedule in 2022.
Sitting back in Texas licking his chops is 6'7" Lance Archer, because he and Tana had a little handshake at Resurgence, Chris, and it was almost a promised deal that he would get a rematch. And I got a feeling that the winner of this one, whomever, whether it's Kenta or whether it's Tanahashi, is going to have to cross paths with that big angry Texan before too long. But now let's move to the main event. Of course, night one, it's the IWGP World Heavyweight Champion Shingo Takagi defending against Kazuchika Okada, the G1 Climax Tournament winner. Waiting in the wings, Will Ospreay. Ospreay faces the winner of Okada, Shingo here. Chris, let's get into the debate about Ospreay's claim as the real world champion. You and I have different points of view on this.
Well, look, I mean, there's nothing that Will Ospreay has said that's incorrect. He won the championship. He defeated Kota Ibushi at Sakura Genesis in 2021. He headed into, and that was after winning the New Japan Cup and had a fantastic field and beat Shingo Takagi in the final. He won the championship against Kota Ibushi. He retained the championship in what was a surefire match of the year contender in 2021 against Shingo Takagi. And he was damaged and he was beaten down and he was hurt and he had to take time off. And the ruling was that he had to relinquish that championship, and you saw the result. And let's face it, Will Ospreay has said it, you can't argue with him. He was unpinned, he was undefeated, he was unsubmitted. And that surely meant that when he was back and able to be active, then he had a very, very rightful claim to the championship. Do I agree with him having his own belt made? Well, no. I think that was a little bit crass, a little bit classless on the part of Will Ospreay. But that's who Will Ospreay is. Will Ospreay is crass and Will Ospreay is classless. But he's also, very arguably, the best. And that's what we're here to decide, right? And that's what we will decide on January the 5th. We're going to really know for sure who the undisputed champion is, and we're going to know for sure who the very best is.
You make perfect sense. All your points exactly right. Ospreay deserves to be in this spot. Ospreay deserves to face the best. The best will be the man who emerges victorious, whether it's the G1 Climax Tournament winner Okada or the defending World Heavyweight Champion Shingo Takagi. Where Ospreay lost me, though, was he had a chance to jump into the field of the G1, to do exactly what Okada did, and yet he refused because he wanted to wave his belt around and tell the world that he was the real world champion, the undisputed, the never beaten, the never pinned, never submitted. Factually correct, but that's where Ospreay lost me. Go into the G1 field. No, it's not ideal. Yeah, you got a raw deal from New Japan Pro Wrestling. Sure, you could have been given more time, but they wanted the world title defended. And so you don't get to name the rules. This is not Will Ospreay Championship Wrestling. It's New Japan Pro Wrestling. So Will didn't like it and has made everyone suffer as a result. The only good thing about this scenario is that we do get the end of all the debate at the end of the night on January the 5th, because I've heard Ospreay squawking for too long, and Shingo and Okada barely utter his name. We'll know whether it's Will Ospreay, Shingo Takagi, or Kazuchika Okada, who is the undisputed IWGP World Heavyweight Champion on the end of the night, January the 5th. And if it's Ospreay, you tip your cap and you say you are what you say you are the very best, because you just beat the best. That, to me, it's the best of all worlds out of a scenario that was quite prickly for quite a bit of time with the way Ospreay was carrying on. But I guess it depends. It's hard to pick a winner for this, Chris, because it really depends on the physical condition of whomever emerges victorious on January the 4th. But Ospreay's coming in great shape, and we know that both Shingo and Okada are heading into the 4th in great shape. Do you think Ospreay's thinking at all about last year and Ibushi and the Jay White scenario where 48 minutes plus, Jay White could not beat Ibushi? Is there a sense that the winner of January 4 has so much momentum that they're just unstoppable by the time they get to the main event on January the 5th?
I think that has to be a factor, and it's something that I'm sure Will Ospreay is very well aware of. And he's also, does this come down to, does he have a mental edge over one rather than the other? As I said, he beat Shingo Takagi twice in 2021. Whereas with Okada, he lost this time last year in the Tokyo Dome to Okada, and that was supposed to be a main event rematch in the Tokyo Dome months later. The fate intervened and ensured that didn't happen. So perhaps if it was one over the other, maybe Will Ospreay has a better shot against Shingo than he does against Will Ospreay, than he does against Kazuchika Okada rather. And but it absolutely speaks to your point. I think we've seen over the last couple of years how much of a benefit having that main event win on January the 4th means to you heading into January the 5th. So I think it's going to be a difficult one to call. Of course, you look at the history books as well. All these great international wrestlers, that we've had in New Japan Pro Wrestling, the Jay Whites, the Kenny Omegas, the AJ Styles. You go back to Scott Norton. They couldn't win in the main event in the Tokyo Dome. Only Brock Lesnar has, right? When it comes to foreigners in that environment. And it means you're being on the biggest stage that we have in Japan has an added layer of pressure, of competitive nature. It brings out the very best, I think, specifically in our domestic athletes. And that's another factor that might be hindrance to Will Ospreay in this one. So my gut says the January 4th winner will be victorious on January the 5th, but it's a very, very difficult one to call.
It obviously is, but the easiest thing to decide is where you need to be on both January the 4th and January 5th. That's not at work. That's not at school, even if it's, probably isn't in session yet. Dates, friends, other commitments, all in the bin. You need to be with Chris and with me watching Wrestle Kingdom right here on NJPWWorld.com. Because it's the start of the 50th anniversary and it's Wrestle Kingdom. Now, Chris, I've got my sources that tell me that some special paraphernalia, wear, attire for the 50th anniversary, that maybe perhaps you have a sneak peek of something, one of those items. Oh my goodness.
Look at that. Look at that. Oh, it's just up. Oh, I can just get it on the camera. These track jackets, they came in yesterday. As we're calling this, and I'm wearing this. So this is just one aspect of the 50th anniversary. And you know, Kevin, you bring it up. Always keep an eye on intermission. Don't just as soon as like the fourth match is done. Okay, we've got a break to clean and disinfect the ring. And maybe get a snack, maybe head to the bathroom. Always, you want to stick around. I've heard some rumblings of things that a lot of our fans are going to be really excited about in the intermission on January 4th and January 5th. So, as we're heading into the 50th anniversary year, it's just going to be incredible every step of the way. Of course, at the start of March, where we're at the Budokan for 2 incredible nights to celebrate the 50th anniversary, but all the way through 2022, there's going to be so many exciting things, big things, small things, fun things, serious things. It's all going to come together.
And you fans are going to be seeing a lot of Chris and I over the next 12 months at the very least, because we are embarking on a very aggressive live broadcast schedule. And, fingers crossed, everything goes well pandemic-wise. But what we're planning for this upcoming year, all the fans of New Japan Pro Wrestling and NJPWWorld.com are going to be thrilled with. And, Chris, I know you and I are very excited about it as well, because there's no place we'd rather be than live ringside doing commentary.
Yeah, there's just nothing else like it. It's obviously the best part of the best job. And so, I can't wait for 2022, and hopefully everything goes well.
All right, so there is a preview for January 5th. We hope you've also seen our preview for January 4th as well. The 2 nights of Wrestle Kingdom are right around the corner. And the place to be, if you've got any questions, you want to find out the card, the start time, the stipulations to different matches, there are great articles written at njpw1972.com. That can be your one source, if you choose, for everything you need to get ready for Wrestle Kingdom. So, for Chris Charlton, I'm Kevin Kelly, and we'll see you January 4th, January 5th, Wrestle Kingdom from the Tokyo Dome.